me now is Republican Congressman Marlin Stutzman of Indiana on the House Financial Services Committee. Congressman, thank you very much for joining us on your Sunday. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Laura. Good to be with you.
Good to be with you, too. You know, in that interview, Secretary Lutnick also avoiding saying how long these tariffs will last. And that is a very big question here. Should these tariffs be permanent? How long should they last? And if there is a timeline, when is that?
Well, I think what President Trump is doing is showing that they're not going to be permanent if people are willing to come to the table. That's the whole point. You know, people are accusing Trump of starting a trade war. This is actually finally a shot back at the countries that have been tariffing us for many years. So I believe that President Trump is doing the right thing by placing these tariffs in place. And as countries decide that they want to negotiate and come to the table to make a deal with the United States, they're going to be a winner. But if they sit there and decide that they're going to escalate the tariffs, it's only going to become more difficult for them, because in the long run, the American economy is the largest in the world. We're the strongest economically, even though we've got our problems. But I believe that President Trump and his team have a very good plan to really bring people to the table. And I would love to see a zero tariff policy with us and many other nations. I think it'd be good for everybody.
You know, a lot of people are resisting. You've probably seen the protests, and the White House has responded to what's going on with that, saying that President Trump will always protect Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid for eligible beneficiaries. But seeing these thousands show up nationwide, I mean, all 50 states, it shows that not all Americans feel this way, and deeply, right? Will these demonstrations have any influence on or impact on Trump's agenda as you see it?
Well, we all know that we just came through a very partisan election, and there's 49% of the people out there that don't like President Trump, and I don't think they're willing. Many of them aren't even willing to give him a chance, especially after what we saw in the last administration when Trump was in office, where it was just constant investigations and impeachment proceedings. And, you know, they're already showing that that's what they would do again with Al Green's announcement that he's going to file articles of impeachment. You know, if we want to talk about what the tariffs are going to do, it's going to reset the stage for American manufacturing and American production to actually have a level playing field. I've filed a bill that would increase the tariffs on Australian beef. The Australians ban American beef into Australia ever since mad cow disease happened 20 years ago. And they're our friends and allies, and yet they're using the excuse of mad cow disease to ban American beef. And so I believe that it should go both ways. If we're going to be friends and allies, let's make sure that our trading policy reflects that.
You know, also Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent pushing for tax cuts. This is something that we're looking at a headline today. Will this even out the cost of the tariffs on Americans? That's what many people are wondering. You know, you've got this tax cut that's coming, it's being promised. How do you see that evening out on the seesaw, so to speak?
Yeah, I do think it balances out. You know, Trump's other policies are going to have an impact as well, whether it's tax policy, extending the Trump tax cuts, no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, the others, those will offset because the tariff revenue is going to have an immediate impact. And with our $36 trillion of debt, an economy that's kind of flat and doesn't feel strong, this is going to have an impact. And I think that in the long run, with energy policy and with deregulatory policy out of Washington, I mean, just deregulation alone is about $1 trillion wet blanket on the American economy annually. So those sort of policies are going to offset the tariffs. And again, I would just say that, you know, for far too long, we've let other countries take advantage of us as American consumers. Coming from the Rust Belt, manufacturing has been hollowed out over years, where China, Mexico, jobs have gone overseas, all in the name of free trade. It wasn't free trade. It cost the American people.
I also wanted to get your take on a conversation I had yesterday. I spoke to Massachusetts Democratic Congresswoman Lori Trahan on President Trump's tariff and tax plan. Let's take a listen to this. I'll get your thoughts on the other side.
I think the thing that is we're really keyed in on is, these tariffs are not going to pay for the tax extension and the tax scam that is in this bill, right? I mean, if tariffs are going to increase prices by 10, 25, or 50%, you're not going to be able to make that up in lower taxes for a family that's making $65,000 a year. They just won't overcome that.
All right. So what do you say to Democrats who argue these tax cuts will only benefit the wealthy? Is that how you see it?
No, not at all. I mean, I come from small business, family business, and it's going to come right to us if these tax cuts aren't extended or made permanent. There's a lot of talk about tariffs increasing prices. Look what's happened over the last 4 years under the Biden administration. I mean, I was in the restaurant business. I was in manufacturing, retail, and we saw prices skyrocket from inflationary costs. And so that is, that's part of the problem here is this is not a good time. But you know what? When is a good time to fix the problems that the federal government has? I think the risk of doing nothing is much greater than the risk of what President Trump is doing.
All right. Many people waiting to see how it's all going to shake out. Congressman Marlin Stutzman, thank you very much for joining us today.